It's that time, once again, bringing you some frustration. This time, though, perhaps bringing you some great shame, great dishonor, embarrassment felt by all as we embrace all fear, abandon all hope. I try to avoid a fail video. Today, as I go to entertain, slightly stimulate, maybe the 2% of my subscribers. Today, as I talk about Jade Regent's Adventure Path, The Empty Throne, Book 6. Today is going to be a part 1. Don't get that messed up. Part 1 of part 2. As I get into The Empty Throne, the final conclusion, the final volume, the final book of Jade Regent's Adventure Path. So today, yes, we're going to get into the very first part of it. In part 2, I'll finish it up, talking about the conclusion, the end game, the insights, the continuing campaign, if I can even do that. But this game has been going around now for 2 years. Just over 2 years. I've lost most or all, just about all, of the original members. I messed up. See, because I knew that comment would bother me. So I'm dealing with some salvage players. I got some new people in my group now. So, that was okay, right? Alright. Tura, Hana, Hanson, Ginye! Some Korean words there. Anyway. My daughter got these from her karate class. She won first place for making a banner and ad. So yeah. Okay. Did that frustrate you as much as it frustrated me? Did it embarrass you at all? Any shame felt? Any horror? Couldn't have been that bad, but maybe, just maybe, it's time to commit some seppuku. No. We're not doing that today. I think I've embarrassed myself enough. I bored you. So, maybe we're going to talk about those things that we really need to discuss today, instead of me clowning around. But anyway, wanted to feature some of those Eastern weapons. Some slight stimulation. Wake up the 2% of my subscribers that are checking this out. Maybe the random passerby. Getting a little spunky. I'm starting to wake up now. So, a host of videos I put out today. Similar shirt. But yeah, here we go. The Empty Throne. Yes, I'm a little tired, I'm a little fat. Anyway, we'll get into this now. So all this time, you spend in Varsia. You finally get into Minkai, or Tianzia by Book 4. And you explore the great expanse of the northwestern provinces in Book 5. To collectively gather in your rebel army of the nobles, the merchants, the rogue elements, the thieves, to the Ronin, to the geisha, that have great influence. Maybe hiring certain mercenaries to your cause, gathering such needed support. Maybe you go with the side quest proposed of the Ruby Phoenix tournament as a way to kind of rally the supporters, bring great notice, and in the end, win a great prize in the end, such as what you would see from some of those movies. Also feature tournament styles. So, maybe you don't go with that anyway. But, anyway, I tried to propose that, a side quest, and I had a lot of people agree to it. No, everyone was on board for it. I was going to feature the NPCs, such as Shay Lilu and Amiko and all of them. I go through macro the tokens and get them all going here, and then all of a sudden someone tells me they don't want to do it. They just want to get through the game. They're just tired of it. They're tired of the theme. They just want to get right through it. They don't want to have any extras or any side bullshit. They just want to get right to the end. After they already agreed to do this. So, you can imagine the well of regret. The barren field of despair. The rising storm of anger. I've tried to suppress some of these feelings, these urges of having a really great group that has similarly sort of disjoined, disbanded in a way. I have one very great player, a loyalist, outside of the game. I would consider him a great friend. This is my only social interaction here. These videos and, of course, this online game. I really have 0 friends. But I consider this player a very high esteem of great importance, and I'm running the rest of this book for him. I lost one player who just kind of was quiet, went away. Of course, there were reasons for it, but one that he not cared or wish to tell me about, and just been very shadowed and quiet in the backdrop ever since. So he's kind of removed himself from the social outlet. So even when I needed him to agree to this new option, this new side quest, or get some input from him, he managed to just stay quiet and not offer anything when I asked questions, seeking answers. So, a lot of regret, a lot of feelings that I'm holding on to that lead to anger and stress and all. But anyway, I managed to salvage some people. I managed to get 2 new people, one of great promise, who's come into his own with this campaign as I deeply embed him into it. And a newer guy who I'm testing out. I would have liked to have brought more people into my gaming group, but unfortunately I couldn't make it too big. Dealing with a few min-maxers, and there is a serious balance issue to the game at large. But so I was able to get at least two people in, try to salvage my online group for the moment, as we attempt to finish Jade Regent and move into Iron Gods. So, enough of the babble, enough of the pity party here, perhaps. Let's get into it. This is what you're here for. I apologize. So, Jade Regent event, Book 6, Empty Throne, the final chapter. What I like about this, the Amatasus, the Amatasu family, you get to go to this island. There's a ceremony, a rite, a heritage, a tradition that you must follow to claim the Jade Throne, to overthrow the Jade Regent. You need the blessings of the gods of the emperors of before. Gain their blessings, gain their support, maybe gain some spiritual guidance, and maybe answer some of those questions, like what happened to Emperor Shiguri. Was he really killed, or has he just been in hiding ever since? This is supposedly the island, his refuge that he went to. Maybe you can put him on the throne. So there is this tradition, this ceremony, this blessing that you have to follow. And this is an attempt to keep the rest of the group away from the ideals of going right to the Imperial Palace and removing the Jade Regent, slashing down all those who get in your way, the host of innocent people, the Oni disguised. untold innocents would be slain if you were to go continue with this course of just storming, of sieging the capital of Minkai, Kasai. So this is an attempt to get away from that, to try and get your players onto the railroad of sorts. I hate using those terms, but that's something everyone can... That's a term that everyone knows. So yes. Trying to steer away from that. Otherwise, you're going to have to go into the ultimate campaign and get into mass combat rules and things if you're going to do an army thing, which would be totally fine, but keep in mind, if you want to follow the AP. And with my group, they're having problems with subsystems. They're having problems with at least one. I have one bad seed, and he doesn't want to divert too much away from the end. Even though he wanted to go in a different damn direction to go kill another dragon far in the north and continue another story arc and putting off the end of Jade Regent. So it's very two-faced. It's very back and forth nature, and you don't... Yeah, so I think you can sense some of my distress, some of my problems, some of my worry. So, the gaming group that was once great and held in high esteem is now kind of vanquished. What started out as a lot of appreciation has now turned into expectation. What was a fervor of excitement is now dull silence. A quiet community. So, alright. I'm getting sucked back into it, I'm telling you. So, here we go. So, you get onto the island. There's a lot of friendly faces in the form of those from the past, of the Imperial line. You get to find out what happened to some of the other 5 families, talking to the spirits and such. Keep in mind, though, here comes a ghostly theme again. For spoilers, here comes one. You're going to have to fight a lot of ghosts, a lot of incorporeal things, perhaps. One quite deadly. Big spoiler here. Vorpal. Vorpal corrupt in touch. It's scary. It is daunting, but exciting as well. Because I have someone with an AC of 41. Kukri that deals 1d4 plus 20 damage, plus 31 to attack. So you can kind of see. I need to level the playing field a bit, and this one, Incorporeal Ghost, certainly will do that. Although I am playing around with mythic templates, adding things like Agile and the other ones on there. So to gain the dual initiatives, to gain the block attacks, to bring incidental pause, incidental delight, maybe, with an overwhelming aura of fear, of tremendous power. Maybe that can be felt through the seals, maybe. It's suggested in Book 6, the Emperor, or I should say the Jade Regent, he has the rest of the Imperial seals locked away. And with this island that you go to, you see that he uses the seal, or his magnetism behind all of that, to perhaps make Scions of his own. You should definitely enforce that theme there. There's been such a high presentation throughout the rest of the books that your group are Amatasu Scions. They are heirs to the throne, to the family line, protectors of the lost princess. Let's see the other side of that coin. Let's see the darker side to that. The Scions of the Jade Regent. That would be pretty awesome. So you kind of see a little bit of that with some of the people that are put in place to defend. You could certainly make the Scions the other people at the Imperial Palace later on, like the Raven Prince, and Renshi Media and Armaronan, the magistrate or whatever he is. So that is an interesting, unique take on it. Scions of the Jade Regent. So anyway, you visit this island. You encounter the incorporealness, the spirits, some of the Amatasu line, which is lacking throughout the other books. You don't know really anything much about them except for a couple name drops, and even then, I've been using Sushin, the Amatasu ancestral blade, as sort of a guide, as sort of the family lore. And you can practice if you want with some of the styles, the familiarity of the Asian sounds. If you're getting into heavy roleplay dialogues, oh, Dun Hanzor Kinye. I like doing a little bit of that during my online game, where I'm using the vent to speak through. So, trying to bring out some of that stylized theme there. Oh, the Amatasu Scions have come. Let's say now. You can do all kinds of different voices. I would suggest that, especially for when Book 4 they introduce you to such a cultural lore, cultural slap, a shockwave. What's a shockwave? I don't know. Sounds as stupid as Sharknado. All right, so a shockwave of empathy, of culture, of immersion. So some of the voices I think would be a good source. Hopefully you don't make it into a racial thing where you take it too far, and that's never a good thing. So as long as you keep it light, keep it of a paramount nature, a theme to it. So kind of immerse the players into the world. I would suggest the different type of voices would be very good. So yeah, you find out in Minkai there is a food shortage. There is a heavy rice tax being placed upon the people. So there you go. You can talk like that. Or not, abandon that. So if you think it's too silly, or if you don't like to do much of that. But anyway, starvation is a real problem in Kasai. So you have a way to kind of alleviate that by attacking a granary. You can try to captivate the hearts by killing some of the Typhoon Guard, freeing some of the people that are about to be executed at some of the public execution stages. Those who believe are helping the rebel army, or the Oni, who just use any excuse at all possible just to further their own goals in the ultimate of sins. But you should probably have a couple encounters within the streets as Miko's trying to get by there. I would definitely have a Miko go with you throughout the rest of the group. I thought I could avoid some of the pains of avoiding the PCs from not having a strong connection to the NPCs. I thought I could boost that connection, strengthen it, by having them run a couple side quests with the NPCs, using that relationship points and stuff there to make them invested emotionally with the NPCs. As I found out, that didn't work. It's weird. It's like I saw all the problems beforehand, and with the caravan encounters and the relationship rules or guidelines, and trying to create other ways to not make that disjoined, to make the players enjoy it. And I failed on those parts because the options I talked about in book 1, it just dried out. I mean, the players don't care. You'll even have the caravan combat as a thematic sort of a combat theme to it, where it happens in the backdrop, or having the NPCs, get involved with the caravan fights, or just using the caravan encounters as just a story base, something that happens during that time on the road. Eventually, I think your group's just going to get so tired of it, and most of it is kind of put to the side in book 5, where you get to stop using it. But my problem now is all of my attempts, which went really well, received great. I guess when the campaign gets too damn long, and you have particular players who now have expectation over appreciation, you're going to find that they just don't care anymore, and a bit of that is kind of sad, just because of all the work that was put into it. All the initial attitudes expressed by the PCs, enjoying it, and then just similarly dropped, cut, like that. So, it will be a challenge to try and keep the group with Emiko, as I'm finding. I even made her a swashbuckler, but the spotlight is too damn bright on the players, and it's supposed to be about them. So they're shoveling any bullshit to the side, so to speak. So there's some complication there. So despite my positivity, despite the great resolving conflicts, those problems commenced anyway. So, due to the crumbling of the foundations of my group. This sounds like a wake now, doesn't it? My other videos of Jade Regent were so much more upbeat, but I promise you, when I do the conclusion and when I do books 1 through 6 as a sort of compilation, I think you'll have a better attitude from me then, hopefully, as I try to get through this. But there are some nice seppuku compulsions or haunts here. You do meet Emperor Shiguri, and he could be a potential ally, potential threat. There's a lot of great embedded lore in your exploration of the island as you try to get the blessings from Shizuru, or otherwise known as Serenrei, I believe. You get to fight some interesting creatures, talk to some actual Amatasus, and then you get into the Well of Demons, and you get some fun with fighting those for a change, rather than Oni. Maybe get a little bit of a Wrath of a Righteous sort of a theme with it, but all the sins and stuff, and all the bad luck, Jingasa, I don't know if that's what that word is, but all the things that are tried to be washed pure and such, you find them at the Well of Demons, and you find that there's a demonic resurgence implanted by the Jade Regent to try and stop the imposters, those who claim to be from the Amatasu line, but are really just the same assassins, the same breed of people who are trying to take out Emperor Shiguri way before, which caused the Jade Regent to take his regency and hide away the Emperor and defend the throne. So you have more of that resounding backdrop there. There's some really interesting things that you get to fight. Unique handmaiden assassins. And some really nice creatures from Bestiary 2 and Bestiary 3. The Grave Knight is a lot of fun. The Nightwing, the Dread Ghost Sorcerer. There's a lot of great things there. But this is part of the honoring of the past for Book 6 here, as you take your first few steps to the ascension of the throne. There is a ceremony, a rite of passage. As should be evident, with a strong theme of honor in place, you should really hold that to high regard and expect your players to do so as well. As far as examples of this, you can watch 13 Assassins, that new Keanu Reeves Asian one. Might not be that great, but the theme, the resolute theme from that, the thing that you can take away is the layers of honor and the embodiment of it, and what links you go through to retain that honor. So that should be impacted well upon Book 6, as far as what your role is as a GM. Then you'll get to all the sin, all the villainy, as you get back to fighting more Onis and stuff, but you get to finally infiltrate the palace. And that's where I'll kind of leave it up here as far as Part 1 is concerned. I'll do Part 2 a little bit later, as I talk more in length about the end game, the final cutscenes. But just do a kind of a quick glimpse into that. You face the Jade Regent and his Scions, the Jade Scions. Maybe, depending on, like with me, where you have players who are around 15th level now, where they should be around 13 or just bordering into 14, and not be 15 until the very end of the game when you complete the book. Maybe you should take those adversaries at the end and maybe give them a couple mythic ranks. Maybe the Jade Throne is an ascension to being mythic. These are some things to think about as you prep during the very beginning stages of Book 1 and look towards that goal at the end. In Book 6, the final chapter, maybe you should allow mythic. Maybe when the players defeat the Jade Regent, if they do, it is quite a high CR challenge rating. If you're going with the guidelines as presented in the AP, if you follow the actual level progression. Otherwise, if they're a little bit higher, then I would suggest bumping the guys up a few levels, or add a couple extra CRs of the same thing in there to present equal challenge. Maybe more guards and such. There's a nice Imperial Dragon that you get to fight. Perhaps a potential ally who's forced, honor-bound, to fight you against his wishes, against his desires. So there's a lot of that. Things bound by honor, so you really should follow the way the AP is described. So, with honor in the past and honor in the future, honor being the paramount word here, the resolute theme, the resolving theme, embedded heavily into the book. But the adversaries are very nice. It's going to be quite a handful for the GM, and I might be playing with mythic ranks here quite soon. And when they beat the game, and depending on how much they want to do with the continuing campaign, given the scenario that I got one guy who's just sick of it, but then somewhat turns his back on it and wants to be back into it again, but then would want to go kill a dragon far to the north, but wait, okay, we'll just play this game for a little bit. So trying to decide on where his compass is currently set to, the direction that he's going in. If I can get everyone on board, and they're willing to do this before we get into Iron Gods, and we could do where they ascend to a mythic tier or two. A few years goes by, they're trying to get with the issue, trying to fix the issue of the starvation placed upon Minkai, and maybe they get to fight a kaiju, such as the one in Bestiary 4, which is, let me get his name up here. I've talked about this a few times already. What is that guy's name? I believe it starts with an M. Yeah, Mogaru.
the Godzilla version of Pathfinder. Kaiju Hogaru. Maybe they could fight a CR-28. Maybe give them those. That they're high level. They have a couple mythic tiers. And from what I understand, reading the forums, that mythic is very broken when you get high level. You're doing 600 plus damage in a round. So maybe fighting something like Mogaru would be very appropriate. So we'll see about that, but I'll save some of those thoughts for part 2 and for the conclusion of Jade Regent. And stay tuned for a compilation of books 1 through 6. Talk about my strengths, my weaknesses, and for the Jerry Springer spot. Final thought. So, thank you for sticking around, listening to all this babble. That was rough. Alright, till next time.